Hi. As you may have heard from Haley, my name is Léa, and I'm a grade 12 student. And in my life, I've been to 5 different schools, and not a single one of them really incorporated land-based learning. Some of them have tried, but none of them really had a goal to get us, the students, outside learning. At my middle school, we would always spend about half of our lunch period outside because they wanted us to have fun, to be kids. And mostly they just wanted us to get fresh air and spend time with nature. I deeply appreciate that school for shaping me into the person I am today. Before I start talking about the impact that outdoor learning has had on me, I want to talk about what everyday school looks like and feels like for me. School has been an extremely difficult place for me, and I don't mean to talk down on the school system. It's clear to me that teachers are doing their best and that there's a way that things are done. But I beg for a change. Every school day is the same, and even if I know what to expect, that does not mean I enjoy myself. As a student with an individualized program plan for anxiety and ADHD, school has not been a sensory-friendly environment, nor has it been a comforting or calming place. School is a very busy, loud, and dark place. The halls are constantly full, and everything is a competition. If I were to be honest, I'd say that I'm afraid of school, not because it's a legitimately dangerous place, but because I dread the way I feel when I'm there. On the contrary, I've never felt the way I do when I participate in land-based learning. My experience with land-based learning comes from 4 different sources, but I'll note 3 of them. At my elementary/middle school, I went to 2 different camps, grade 5 being my first ever outdoor education experience. My second experience would be the around 3 years I've been working with CRIN and Howl. I'll leave it up to Maggie to explain what CRIN is in more detail. And finally, this past summer, I got to be a part of a Girls and Ice expedition where I got to learn about glaciology, ecology, and art to create my own science project to present at the end of the 12-day expedition. CRIN and Girls and Ice have been the best decisions I've made in my life. I previously mentioned that outdoor education has been the best part of my life thus far, but I never really said why. Why is outdoor education important to me? I could say it's because it's provided me with lots of amazing achievements that I can put on a resume, but that's not at all why I value outdoor education. I'm a fairly introverted person, and for years I've been taking drama classes at school in hopes of getting out of my shell. I'd say that drama has helped me on my journey, but the thing that really pushed my development forward has been outdoor education. I've been in situations where I was surrounded by complete strangers, and eventually those strangers became my friends. I've had to share my own opinions and experiences. I've even talked with government officials. I would say that all those things have allowed me to grow and be more comfortable with being uncomfortable. Another thing I value about outdoor education is how it makes me feel like myself. I never really feel afraid of being who I am. I'd even go on to say that I'm truly myself when I am outdoors, getting messy and sometimes doing silly things. Normally, I find myself going out of my comfort zone and challenging myself to be better and do better. Sometimes I can challenge myself to a point that may not be the best, but honestly, I'd rather struggle than continue to live my life the same way every single day and never experience new opportunities that are often extremely exciting. I love the friends I've made because of school, but I've started noticing differences between us. These differences come from our own personal ability to be uncomfortable and our level of persistence. My friend once gave me advice not to go. She told me not to go on the Girls and Ice expedition because I was afraid. I'm quite proud of myself for ignoring her because when an opportunity like that comes about, you don't say no. Because when does something so magical just fall into your lap? Respectfully to my friend, whom I love dearly, that was the worst piece of advice I've ever received in my life. To end off this section of our presentation, I would like to ask something of you all as educators. Whatever you do, please get your students outside. Give them opportunities to be outside and to learn from nature. The earlier you start the relationship with the outdoors, the longer they will have something incredible to explore. There is such an ineffable feeling that comes from being connected to nature. That feeling is important to protect our home. To protect Earth, we must all foster that relationship. Remember that outdoor education is so incredibly important, and do your best to get your fellow teachers involved if they are not already. Now, I'd like to pass this presentation on to my lovely friend Maggie to discuss the importance of youth-led initiatives.
Thank you, Léa. My name's Maggie. I'm a grade 11 student in Calgary, Alberta, and I'm going to be talking about the impact of bringing youth in Alberta together through groups like the Canadian Rockies Youth Network. Obviously, to do that, we need to look at what the Canadian Rockies Youth Network is, and after hearing our bios we wrote 2 months ago, you've probably heard it a million times. The Canadian Rockies Youth Network is a youth-led environmental and sustainability group based in Alberta. We run a variety of events throughout the year, from volunteering opportunities in our local communities to policy engagement through letter writing, to focus summits and leadership retreats. So I would go to say that everything we do is focused on 2 main goals. So number 1 would be to create a network and community of youth who are either involved in conservation around their local communities, be that through their school environmental groups, but also to make a pathway for youth who either don't know how to become involved and youth who are yet to develop their passion for the outdoors. The second way I would describe CRIN's goals, also CRIN is the Canadian Rockies Youth Network, it's just a mouthful to say, is to provide youth with tools and knowledge to make an impact on their communities. So there are a couple ways that we try to weave the knowledge piece into our program. First of all, we can look at the benefits of outdoor learning through CRIN. Like Léa said, not every student learns best in a community. Being outside can provide so many different ways to connect with the land, to make new connections and associate new topics. Additionally, we can host professionals to share their knowledge on given issues that the network is attempting to discuss. For example, we had a member of Alberta's Environmental Law Centre discuss the legislation around forestry practices this winter so that our participants at our summit could learn directly from credible sources the real impacts that these laws have on our communities. We can also look to Indigenous leaders to find this kind of knowledge to help develop a connection with the land. These knowledge pieces are crucial for youth to be able to feel confident in their actions, to know how to properly affect change around Alberta. We have to remember that knowledge and awareness spark action and can empower an individual to make waves of change in their community. How do I do this thing? Next slide. Now we know what the platform is. We have to ask ourselves how we can use this platform to have a positive impact on the youth in Alberta and in our environment. Like I've stated, we want to be a welcoming space and community for youth across Alberta. We want to be a place that allows our peers to develop the same appreciation for the outdoors that we at CRIN, and I imagine most of you, share for the outdoors. I can honestly say that the community inside and around CRIN is the reason why I'm here on this stage. The people I've met through the Canadian Rockies Youth Network, previous and current members alike, have allowed me to grow my passion for the outdoors and become way more vocal about my activism in my community. CRIN is meant to be a space for everyone, and knowing it's had such an important role in empowering me, I want to make sure that it can continue to have a positive impact on the youth, and I will continue to make sure that happens. Secondly, we can use the platform to amplify the voice of youth in Alberta who are already taking action. Youth voices are seldom heard to the extent that they should be, especially in discussions centering the future of our planet. We can use our platform at CRIN over the years, we can use the platform that CRIN has accumulated to recognize actions being taken. Being at CRIN has allowed me to meet so many incredible individuals from different high schools across Alberta who are making change in their schools, in their community, and it's super rewarding to be able to share those individuals' projects with the world. Finally, as an organization, we try and offer a youth perspective and voice on conservation and the environment. We've recently partnered with Banff National Park to share youth input on the Lake Minnewanka area plan, and we're excited to continue to work them. Admittedly, sometimes it's a difficult task in Alberta to convince companies and governments about the value of our natural spaces beyond resources, but no, we do try our hardest to advocate for positive change with our platform on behalf of underrepresented youth around Alberta. At this point, I'm going to pass it on to Nicole to discuss knowledge.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nicole, and I am really happy to be here today. First of all, I would like you guys to give another round of applause to my two friends. Thank you. They did an amazing job, and I'm really proud of them. How do I change the slide? Okay, thank you. I would like to introduce myself again. I was born in Brazil, and I am now based in Calgary. I moved here 2 years ago with my parents. I decided to join CREN to be part of a community I always believed in, but I didn't have this opportunity in Brazil due to lack of resource we have there. Tonight we gather here, what is known as Banff in Treaty 7 territory, and what is still known as Canada, and not the 51st state. I am reflecting on my new knowledge and the concept of acquiring knowledge or education as we know it. For instance, how did I learn that Banff wasn't always Banff? How did I learn what treaty we are gathering on and what the significance of a treaty in this part of Canada means? Most importantly, how did all of that knowledge come to mean something to me so that I am standing here speaking to all of you today? I'm about to graduate high school, and like most people I go to school with, I've always thought that gaining knowledge could only be done in formal ways and informal places. The fancier the place, the more knowledge you can gain. The more serious the learning, the less connection with the outdoors or anything outside of the box. Doesn't this seem to go a little bit against our instincts? But I think we are gathered here because we have this common understanding that we always need to be in situations where we are seeing and feeling the world and learning from all kinds of people. We learn when we bring our own experience into these situations, and then we are able to be affected by our surroundings and ask critical questions about what we are seeing and hearing. Overall, I feel like more students are not involved in trying to make a difference because the education they are receiving fails to make a difference to the student. We need inspiration, connection, relationships, and finally real opportunities to learn about the land enough to speak about it and advocate for it through the complex systems that impact these places. I think we are here at the National Outdoor Learning Conference because we want to ensure that students are having more opportunities to connect with the land and thus to become better stewards of the land, no matter the career path. Here's an example of how my recent opportunities connect with the land impacted my knowledge and actions. When I was growing up in Brazil, I experienced and saw people suffer because of the direct impact of climate change. Irregular rainfall patterns have led to both severe droughts and floods. Where a couple months ago in the very south of Brazil we had so much rain, where I believe half of the population lost their homes. However, I found it surprising that while floods and fires in North America might make the most headlines here, the more frequent and intense disasters in the global south go often unnoticed. How can we know and feel more about the land in other places too? Aren't we all connected? I realized these things and came up with these connections because I had the opportunity to bring my experience to the land here. In this area, through my work with the Canadian Rockies Youth Network, I didn't just get out on the land. I was also able to hear from elders, such as Margaret and Cherry Ryder from Stony Nakota, about what they knew about the land and how it was changing. I was able to connect with other youth, and we were given a chance to think about the places in different ways while being on the land. I've had the opportunity to learn about Western Indigenous ways of knowing as it relates to climate change. As a youth group, we were able to meet with people in Banff National Park, just as Maggie said, and share a perspective on land, water, tourism, and culture. As a 16-year-old at the time, it was empowering to be and feel heard by the decision makers of the land. This opportunity was unique, but maybe too unique. I guess my point is that I hope that people in this room can really channel a way to go beyond taking students outside and to give them opportunities to provide a voice in their own communities. We learn to care so much more this way. If I could have 3 takeaways of this presentation from Léa's presentation, please take your students outside and support them in whatever they need to do and what they need to feel safe about. From Maggie's presentation, create a community that they can feel safe in and they want to be part of, because if they don't have that, they're not going to see a reason to go outside. And for my presentation, give them the power. we don't know until we understand that we do have a voice. And yeah, that's kind of what I have to say. And just imagine the future that we could create together. As Greta once said, instead of looking for hope, let's look for action. Thank you.